This is the Criterion Creeps podcast. And tonight we're talking about Good Morning from 1959, directed by Yasujiro Ozu. The synopsis from Letterboxd reads, two boys beg their parents for a television set, nagging them until all patience is lost. The parents order the boys to be quiet, and the boys do exactly that, refusing to utter a word. The boys' silence ultimately puts the whole neighborhood into turmoil. That pretty well sums it up, I think.
I think so. It doesn't. It really glosses over what this movie is really about.
A lot of dynamics.
Yeah,
but it's like on paper, that's kind of what this movie is, and that I think is like kind of the thing about Ozu. So RJ, Ozu is one of those guys who people just get a call by his last name because he's kind of a one of a kind director. He's in that upper echelons of like big name directors in the kind of art house Criterion. Oeuvre, however you want to put that. But Ozu probably is also one of the least watched of the like oeuvre directors of those types of guys. Because I only got around to watching the big Ozu movies in the last year or two. Because on paper, when you read what these Ozu movies are about, you're kind of like, oh, that's it, huh? And then you're just like, yeah, I'd rather go watch a samurai movie, or I'd rather watch, I don't know, a whole heck of a lot of other things that are like jazzy and sound sexy and have like a real like, I don't know, something like novel about them. This just sounds like what people would call a home drama, and that's kind of like what Ozu is all about. Because Ozu, RJ, and I'm assuming this is the first Ozu movie that you've ever watched.
I think I've seen almost all of them.
What am I doing?
Why don't I take it from here?
Why don't you take it from here, RJ?
Ozu is the guy. He is famous for his Greek alcoholic beverage. Was that Ouzo? I don't know. Yeah, this is the first one I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yep.
So I've seen about three of his feature films, and on the Blu-ray it actually has one short film and one of his like early silent, or not early, but like one of his early feature-length films that was also silent, because Ozu did not embrace sound as early as other people. He waited till like almost like the late 30s before he started doing sound movies. He's a kind of an unusual cat, as we'll talk about some of the ways the particular ways that he makes movies. It's kind of like how his name is a household name in Criterion collector circles.
Iconic?
I don't know, but I don't even know if I call it that. We'll get into it a little bit more. So
okay.
Good Morning had been on my radar for a while. I've talked to a few other people that I'm buddies with about their Ozu watching, and both of them have actually regarded Good Morning as one of their favorite Ozus. For me, I've seen Tokyo Story, and then Late Spring, and Tokyo Story is like often regarded as like one of the greatest films ever made by directors, by like actual filmmakers. They say it's like the one of the best. I believe like this was that Sight and Sound magazine 2012. It was like the #1 film for directors. It's like greatest movie of all time. And I've seen Tokyo Story. Tokyo Story is pretty fantastic, RJ, and it lives up to its hype.
It's a future creep.
It is. Getting way down the road. Late Spring I've seen. That movie is also like pretty damn amazing. Good Morning, I think is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's as good as those other two movies. But it's also because it's a comedy. Which is interesting, because it's like he's not really known for his comedies, even though I guess there's an entire Eclipse series of just his like family comedies, and
weird.
I don't know. It's just in my mind there's a certain like seriousness, or kind of I don't know what you call it, a serenity,
sexy.
No, the opposite of that. There's like a I don't know.
Impudent?
I don't think comedy, even though he actually made quite a few of them, and this is one of those. So this movie, like, I don't know, it's the first time I've seen this movie, but I liked it. I definitely liked it quite a bit. I'm trying to think of where to start off with talking about this.
Just get into it, baby. Hit him in the beans.
Hit him in the beans. Yeah. So in the preamble, talking about this movie at the beginning of the episode, I talked about how this movie kind of falls into our wheelhouse, at least the RJ wheelhouse, because boy, this movie has like full on farts going on in it, which is I'm pretty sure a Criterion first, because like in the comedies that we've watched, like the ones that pop into mind are like Life of Brian or This Is Spinal Tap. There are no farts in those movies.
One thing so far, I think, what are we, 70 episodes in? So almost just over 70, the first 70 Criterions. There has been I've mentioned before, maybe not on the show, a serious neglect and oversight of very few farts, very few butts, and very few dumps. There's been some butts, but all the butts we've seen so far have been raped butts and stuff like that, like in Salo and the Night Porter, and it's not as fun when it's like sad, but this movie has like fun butts and fun dumps and fun farts, and that's awesome because I feel like if I was in charge of the Criterion Collection, Jarrett, I would have drastically different picks in here, and that would be pretty much the 3 criteria for the collection.
Wow.
Yeah, as long as it fits one of those, I would let it in. So, yeah, I mean, even like Silence of the Lambs had some pretty good butts.
Yeah, and it's got some ejaculate being thrown into people's faces.
That's not really my bag, baby. But
such a prude.
Yeah, I only like I like the like. I mean, that stuff's all mean spirited. There's this movie really captures the grace, the
joy.
The joy. And honestly, just how much it empowers a person to just blow out a huge ass fart. And it's good.
And the hilarity of it.
The hilarity. What were we talking about?
That this movie is the first movie brave enough to tackle those topics here in the Criterion Collection. Yeah,
very true.
So that all being said, hey RJ, what did you think of Good Morning?
Oh fuck! I mean, farts and butts and dumps. In the first scene, a kid poops his pants.
Yeah,
like this is ideal. This is vintage RJ pick.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I thought this movie was good. Yeah. I liked it. I think you and me are actually probably on the same page. I thought it was really good. I liked the humor, obviously. The fart stuff is all very funny. But I also did really like kind of like the dynamic of the small town that he liked to the story.
It's not even a town.
Or like a neighborhood.
It's like the courtyard.
Like the 4 neighbors who live together.
Yeah,
that's a better way to put it. Like the dynamic of the neighborhood and these people who kind of share a lives together. And I think that's like I thought all that was really cool too. I'll just say I think I'm on the same page with you. I really liked it, but I didn't like love it or anything. But yeah, like the dynamic of all the people living together, and I think it's a unique cultural thing too. Like the way that they live, like that they lived in Japan in these ways, like the way their actual houses and structures were built, like kind of afforded that stuff to happen. Where these, like in one scene where say there's the traveling salesman who's like just in your house already,
the door-to-door dollar store guy,
because the door's just open and like he's allowed in your house. Where like say over here, if someone knocked on your door and you didn't want to let him in, you just wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
But like they show it in another nice way where when the neighbor dad is drunk and he's like walking into the wrong houses and they're like, oh, you got the wrong house again, you goof. And he's like, whoopsie. And he like goes to the next house. And I think it's really interesting to see stuff like that because it's so different from how it is here.
Yeah.
That it's like I can't even. It's like it's so alien to us to imagine kind of a lifestyle like that. And I think he does a really good job of showing like these individual different houses and how they kind of live together with each other. And they all have different like attitudes, and you get a sense that they're different people with different personalities and different lifestyles, but they all kind of live together. And I thought that was really cool. It was a nice kind of, I don't want to say like a quiet or like, not like a quiet approach to the things, but this was a nice breather of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could just watch it and like relax, where it's not like fucking Night Porter. Like here's like crazy rape scenes in your face.
Hey, remember the concentration camps?
Yeah, and then it's like ballerina men, and it's just like you're watching it.
Psychosexual horror.
Yeah, you're
let's just say that
in your brow, and
there's a big gap between Good Morning and Night Porter as far as like cinematic experiences. Yeah, I won't argue that.
You could say it's almost night and day.
Ah.
See what I did there, Jarrett?
Yeah.
See what I did? But no, yeah, I think that's what I want to stick with. It's a good breather because it was totally even though it was like all this different lifestyle is very comfortable to me, because you do relate to a lot of these familial adventures and like lifestyles.
Well, because I mean, so actually, cause it's funny because like you're bringing up Night Porter because we talked about that a while ago, really. But like last week we watched The Harder They Come, which is like a dreary kind of like shitty time hanging out in Kingston. But here we get to hang out in, I don't know what like actual community this is in like Japan, but it's just this very quaint, clean, like the cleanness. Like I'm not talking about like they're very cleanly people. No, it's like the design of like I guess the one guy doing one of the special features on the Blu-ray refers to as Ozu Land, which is like the biggest thing. Like that's probably the most iconic thing about Ozu is like all the visual aspects of his movies, where it's like everything's like shot in this full frame square. Everything is like the framing of everything is so precise. The way people move in and out of frames, the way they're presented in frame, because he never does the shot of like two people at the same time in a shot talking to one another. Really, they're always like kind of contained within a shot, looking directly pretty well at the camera. And then there's like the other aspect. I believe it's the Tamamra shot, which is like, you notice it like especially in like the movies that he made like around this period, like the dramas, where he shoots it like about 2-3 feet above the ground at all the time. So everything kind of has this like particular look of like, I guess the idea is it's like if you were sitting on a Tamamra mat, this is the way you would see stuff, even though I think it's even a little bit lower than that. So he has like everything is like laid out, and then when you start getting into like the geometry and the grids and the straight lines, horizons, and like the clothing, the goddamn like crazy amount of like beautiful materials that everyone's clothes are made of, like the kids' sweaters to like those kimonos to like their like regular like day-to-day clothing. Everything has like a particular look to it, and it's just like it's just stunning, like the amount of production. And it shouldn't surprise, I don't know, like to me I'm like, no one should be surprised if you found out Wes Anderson really likes Ozu.
You don't say.
Well, like, but like I was looking it up, and I don't think like he goes out of his way to talk about Ozu that much, even though it's like in a lot of ways like Wes Anderson is kind of carrying on the tradition of symmetry and like design.
Maybe he doesn't want to give away too much of his method.
Perhaps.
But I just looked back because when you were saying how like the last movie we saw, if you look at the last fucking like 3 movies we watched, Harder They Come, Hamlet, Element of Crime, like those are all 3 pretty fucking like in your face movies. Yeah. Like even Hamlet, which is like 800 years old, and it's like slow black and white film, like it's still, when you're watching it, you gotta be kind of like be focused on it, you know. And same with Harder They Come and Element of Crime, like they're so very in your face. I feel like this was visceral, raw. Yeah. So it was so refreshing to just have like a nice movie you could just watch.
Talks of loose tummies,
and farting with your English teacher and wrestling. I bet you liked all that sumo wrestling.
Oh, that was so great. That little that's like, I don't know, for 19, because this is 1959. Like the little TV there, it's like, wow, that's like these guys aren't rich either, but that's kind of one of the aspects of this movie that we haven't even really gotten into, like the I guess the big
movie,
the movie itself. We're just talking about.
We haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, this movie, I mean, it explicitly states, like, because the movie's got this title, Good Morning, and so this is like pretty in line with like all of Ozu's movie titles. They're very like unassuming. Like he has like ones that are like about seasons: late spring, an autumn afternoon, early summer, late autumn, Tokyo twilight, equinox flower, the end of summer. And then there's like early spring. Then there's like movies like Floating Weeds, There Was a Father, Tokyo Chorus. Like these are all very like almost like pastoral, like little titles that are like very unassuming. They don't bring attention to themselves. And so like with Good Morning, I kind of just assumed like, oh, it's just like another, like, it's Good Morning's a pretty lighthearted idea, and that's what, like, that's all I thought it was going to be. Like Good Morning wouldn't play into it, but no, as it turns out, Good Morning is like a massive driving force behind this movie. Because one of the things that is often said, because the movies start at the beginning of the day and kind of proceed throughout the rest of the day, is people say good morning to one another. People say other things to one another, like I love you and good evening and how's the weather. And so this actually is what kicks off the, as mentioned in the synopsis, the silence strike that the boys do. Because so these two kids, they're going over to their English teacher's, or I guess English tutor's house to watch sumo wrestling on the TV, because he actually has a television, like, because I don't know, he happens to have one. No one else can afford one. They're in 1959. A black and white TV was probably pretty damn expensive.
It's like a mint new Mac laptop.
Yeah, it's like
overpriced. Some would say.
I'm going over to my uncle's to play with the iPad. I can't afford an iPad. But so yeah, they're going over there, and the parents are like, "Come on, you guys are just like wasting your time watching this garbage TV. You should be studying, and we don't want you going over there anymore." And they're like, "Well, if you don't want us to go over there anymore, you should buy us a TV." And they're like, "Well, that's expensive." And they're like, "No, you buy us a TV." And they start arguing. Dad comes home. I can't remember the name of that actor, but he's like in every Japanese movie of all time. From Godzilla to Seven Samurai, and here he is, and he's like the admonishing Japanese dad who's just like, "Shut up, quit talking back." And the kids are like, "Oh yeah, all you adults," and he's just fucking, of course, you fucking adults, you use all your pleasantries, they don't mean anything. So like there's little kids like saying, "Why do people say that? Good morning, good evening." It's like, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And so they decide, well, guess what, parents, we're gonna show you, and we're just not gonna say anything to you anymore. And like they that's the plot of the movie, essentially. Like one of the driving forces of the story, because then there's the entire background of like the domestic life of like the women who make up the actual homes of this courtyard living establishment. Because within that there's concern about what happened to the money to pay for our like women's council that we keep. And so you get a demonstration of like very sweet, well-meaning women that, like, I guess like when they're not like doing what they need to do at home, there's a lot of infighting and rumor mongering, but lots of smiles, and everyone's like, "Oh, I think they might have taken the money to buy a new washing machine," and it's like, "Oh, I can't believe that." That's
that bitch.
That sort of thing. These are all quotes. Lots of fucking and lots of bitches in Good Morning here. But yeah, so there's like these dynamics of just like human interaction. And how people go about, and like how society functions, and like when it comes up once in a while, it's not like everyone's just like sitting around talking about why do we say good morning, and it's just like these brief little thoughts that just kind of pass through the movie about like why it's essential and why it's necessary. Because I think we've all had that feeling, like when you're like walking down like a hallway or walking through an office, and like everyone's just saying, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Good morning." In our neck of the woods, there's a lot of working hard or hardly working. That's sort of like that there is a staple of the blue collar working class individual, where it's just like, you got nothing else to say, so you just blurt it out, and everyone just goes, yep, we're all on the same page. We all share a society and culture, and we can just say these meaningless, stupid things that like are like, I don't know, just thought terminating. Cliches.
I think it's best shown when it's the English instructor and the sister lady, and they're talking about the weather.
Oh, at the very end, and the money shot.
He's just like, oh, it's a nice day. Oh, it is a nice day. Yeah, there's a lot of sun today. Oh, yes, there is a lot of sun today.
Look at those clouds.
Yeah, look at those clouds. Oh, yeah, that is a good cloud. And it just goes on for like 5 minutes, and you're like, fuck, I've had that conversation today.
It's not quite 5 minutes, but it's a couple minutes. And it's really.
It goes on for about 5 hours, and you're just like, holy shit.
It's played, and it's like it's supposed to be funny because like so much of the way that characters are interacting in the movie is like they're looking directly at the camera and having conversations. In that particular scene, they're not looking at one another. They're doing everything they can to not look at one another while they're talking about this meaningless stuff and make quick glances at one another. And of course, one of the ideas is that they're both like actually like both very interested in one another romantically. And these are just like the meaningless little things that people do to not talk about what they really feel, because it's easier, RJ, as this movie tells us, to talk about these things in a like meaningless way because there's no effort involved. I'm not sure if that picked up on the microphone, but I think our cat might be doing something bad in the other room.
Oh, it picked up, baby.
Oh, good.
I didn't. I assumed it was your cat Warlock. All I heard was Chanel go, "Hey." Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Yep. That's podcast life.
Anyways, cat life, bro. It happens. It happens.
Yeah. So, that's like a big thing, and I think on a larger level, people can relate to that idea of like meaningless things, and we've all had those thoughts of like, what the hell, why do we say these stupid things? Why can't I just drop out of society, and why can't we be more honest? But then you realize it's just easier.
It is just easier. Hey, you know what we haven't talked about yet?
What?
That the cutest kid in all of the world is in this movie.
Oh my goodness.
God damn, that kid is a cutie pie.
Isamu. Yeah, I think everyone should have one. Their houseboy. He just hangs out and he just does.
That kid is amazing.
Holy fuck, man! Like because like the image that always pops up with Good Morning is like the OK symbol, the index finger to fourth finger or thumb. That always is the shot, and I was like, I didn't understand what that was. And then you watch the movie and you're like, oh. But even before they get to that, basically it's like the two boys, there's the older brother and the younger brother, and that younger brother is like, he's quite little, like I don't know, like 5, 6, but this kid, precocious, wonderful. He does whatever his big brother says. And he follows him around, and he echoes whatever he says after he says it, which just accentuates like I guess the comedy or the absurdity of it. And he just whatever his brother says, he does it and follows it. And like there's bits where like his brother will like slam a door, and the kid will be like and he like kicks something. It's like
it's awesome. There's a scene where he kicks that box because the older brother storms off, and the little kid's like, "Oh shit!" And he goes and he just kicks an empty box. He's like, "Take that, you fucks!"
Yeah.
Another
direct quote.
Another direct quote. I also really like when the salesman comes, and then the little kid, the drunk guy is there, and the little kid walks away, and he's like pounding his fist. Yeah. He's like pretending he's like, "I'll beat the shit out of you, man. I will drop that fucker." This 5-year-old kid said that, but he does it in such a cute manner. Like, that kid's awesome. I wish that kid was in every movie.
Yeah, every movie. Yeah, well, maybe
every movie,
not Salo.
Oh, Jarrett, nobody likes that movie. Nobody listening to this podcast likes that movie. It's the worst.
Well, I'm just stating the facts. Nobody wants to see Isamu in Salo, the 120 Days of Sodom, and then no one wants to see, movie. No one wants to see him in Henry V either. Let's be fair, but he didn't improve that movie.
He'd be okay in that movie.
What else? So, that kid, amazing. I don't know. Watching this movie and then like watching Your Name the other week, I was like, why don't we have like school uniforms in like Canada, like just like in public schools?
The Catholic schools do.
Do they?
No. The ones like the boarding schools do, but I wrote a paper in grade 7 about why I was for school uniforms.
Oh,
I feel like it would diminish a little bit of that bullying, because sometimes people make fun of kids who don't have enough money to buy all the hip clothes.
That's right.
So if you want a copy of that, I'll send you one. Email us at criterioncreeps@gmail.com. I'll send you a Xerox of my grade 7 paper about school uniforms.
Beautiful.
Yep.
School uniforms I think look pretty cool. I'm like, I can say that
Sure
now
do.
because I'm not a kid, because I wouldn't have hated it. But now that I'm an adult, I get to make the decisions and ruin children's lives. I'm all for
Yes, you do.
uniforms. That's one of the advantages of being old. So this movie really also demonstrates the beauty of brown. Because this movie has so many ranges of brown. And it's like, you would think that like, usually people describe like movies from the 70s as being, this is a real brown movie. Well, this movie is like super brown. But this movie showcases the beauty of brown that is like never really fully explored. But it's also offset by like texture and framing.
Some people can't handle their brown. But this movie does it. And with class.
True class.
With class, Jarrett.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Going back to something you mentioned earlier too, when you were talking about like how people kind of like come and go and just like enter people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make you nervous though? I mean, if you recall, you had a bad neighbor not that long ago, and imagine that scenario.
Oh, I know. We had a bad neighbor who shared a premises with us. We had separate entrances and separate living situations. We never actually had to see them, but just the thought of it, Jarrett. The thought, it always just drove me crazy. It's I don't know. I don't know why people don't do that. It's like in what's that Michael Moore movie where he's just in Canada walking in people's houses, and it's just like, lock your doors. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Like Canadian bacon?
No, I think it was in Bowling for Columbine or something.
Oh,
where he's making a point about how like Canadians feel safe and like no one locks their doors.
Right.
And it's like, fuck, I lock my door. I don't know what those crazy fucking Eastern Canadians are doing, not locking their doors. Crazy bastards.
Crazy bastards.
Anyways, that scares me. I don't like that idea.
No.
Lock your doors.
Yeah. That's
people.
We're nice Canadians and we're paranoid as fuck.
Well, it's scary, man. Because 1 minute you're living a nice life, you're petting your cats, and then boom, sayload.
Rape butts.
Yeah, because weren't all those kids kidnapped?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. See, it could happen. Flick of a switch, man. Flick of a switch.
Yep. So
what were you talking about?
We're talking about this Ozu movie, and then we keep talking about Salo. Some other stuff that Ozu like things to look out for when you're watching these Ozu movies. Contract players at the studio he was working at, so he has like a lot of the same actors playing role after role after role, but they're always different characters. One of the things you identify with Ozu is easy to follow stories. He wants to make a movie where it's like anyone can watch this. It's not complicated. It's like, this is why he's like attracted to these like family dramas where it's just like, yep, here are the characters, here are the dynamics, but like all the characters are really well drawn. Like there's just like in the story, there's like there's like those weirdos who like just walk around in their like night clothes, and you're like, night clothes, and you see them like, oh shit, they're in house coats and they're just like lounging about, and that's their style, and it's just like a nice little detail that's thrown in there. And then there's the bit where like they're just like walking down the like courtyard area, I guess like this back alley essentially, and they're just like dancing, and it's just like this thing. You're like, yep, that's just there, and everyone's still going about their business. And then, straight on camera work. So again, like this goes back to like easy follow stories. It's just like everything is there, but everything is like about these characters, and like characters are having these like pretty naturalistic conversations, all kind of guided by social niceties, which I mean is like also maybe like a kind of uniquely Japanese thing. I mean, one of the a stereotype, I guess, of Japanese people is like this is like all Japanese people are basically living in an Ozu movie. I don't think that's actually that true, because I've seen like other Japanese movies and they aren't like Ozu movies. So
probably pretty close.
Pretty close. And there's like nothing too dramatic, nothing too serious going on in these movies. Generally, like when the other ones I've seen, like there's like some sort of event, and usually it happens off camera. In this movie, I guess like the big payoff is like when they get the TV. Spoilers.
Hey, You wrecked it.
I ruined it. That's like that's the big payoff. Oh, that's another great scene in this movie. I like actually quite a bit. So they like steal the rice pot and and there's something else.
It's the kettle.
The kettle. They steal that
Yeah.
and they like take off so they like can go live on their own and like off in a ditch. And then a police officer comes along and like there's like them like hightailing it out of there. It's like so good because it's like the cops is like, what the hell? What are they doing?
He's just like so slowly walking to him. He's like, what's going on with these kids? And they're like, the older kids like, scram.
Yeah, they're fleeing.
We've been made.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So are you going to attempt this pumic powder gimmick?
Oh, like the pumice stones?
Yeah.
I would, but no.
So you don't go into the office all the next little while and be like, hey, push my forehead. Yeah.
Well, there's enough farts and dumps at where I work. Mm-hmm. We don't need any extra, okay?
Yeah, there's a lot of carnivores, I bet, where you eat.
Well, not even just that. There's some pretty heavy methane coming out of them cows all the time, man. Mm-hmm. You ever driven past a feedlot?
Well, we live surrounded by feedlots, so one wind later, I know what it smells like.
Yeah, try living in that. So that's we don't need any extra stuff.
Okay.
We're okay.
Fair enough. There's like the one conversation that like I think about with this movie though is when the two boys' dads like he's after his shift working probably for an office, he stops by the local bar and like one of his neighbors there just getting loaded, and he's talking about because he's retired and like now he's like, oh fuck, I have no money, I can't do whatever I want at any time even though I have all this free time, and all I do is like have a little bit of money and I probably overspend and I'm just drinking, and like he's just talking. I think there's a line about like how like about the pointlessness of life and how it's all pointless and it's just like god damn, I wasn't expecting that here in Good Morning.
Although it's a sad reality that nothing matters. So, not even this podcast.
No, definitely not.
Well, there's like 3 people who enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think.
You got anything else you want to share in your notes?
To be honest, I didn't take a whole lot of notes for this movie. Really? And I don't have a timestamp either.
Me neither.
I was just enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
I have very few notes, except I did have a quote when the dad was yelling at the oldest son, and he said, "You're fussing about a small thing like a woman," and I thought that was pretty funny because it's dated and not how I feel at all. But I thought that was pretty funny. No, I don't know, man. Like what we were talking about earlier. It's a very comfortable movie. I think it's pretty easy for a lot of people to be able to relate to this. Just growing up, there's this neighborhood feel, which I think is getting farther away. It seems, if the internet is to be believed and these millennials are to be believed, that kind of neighborhood mentality is leaving, and we're being taken over by these big cities and millennials and fidget spinners, and it's just horrible. But this is a nice slice of life.
Yeah.
That's how I might describe it.
Nice. So on the Blu-ray, I checked out A Straightforward Boy, which was a short film from 1929 of Ozu's. It's like, I don't even know if it's necessarily a short film, but it's like an incomplete film of one of his things. And it's a story about like this like kid who gets kidnapped by this guy, but it's like a lighthearted comedy, and like you don't really understand what the goal of the kidnapper is. It's just kind of like, I believe it opens up with, today would be a good day for a kidnapping, and then he kidnaps. Is
that like Problem Child?
Kinda, except it doesn't have, what is it, the bow tie killer?
Yeah.
So this guy, he's a kind of a wacky guy, does funny faces. He's going to kidnap this kid, and I guess it's for like a ransom, but they never really get that far. And this kid just seems to be like very like oblivious to the fact that he's been kidnapped. which is what keeps it from being like a nightmarish scenario.
Yeah.
Basically, they never get past the point where he's actually anyone's noticed he's been kidnapped, because it doesn't go very long, because the kid's more of a nuisance than he's worth. And then he tries to return him, but it's like more difficult to like get rid of this kid than it was to kidnap him. And hijinks ensue. Very straightforward, charming little story. And then I watched kind of like, well, I guess what's considered like the precursor movie to this, which is called I Was Born But. And it's kind of like, so it was 1932. And it runs about the same length, actually, as Good Morning. Maybe even a little longer. I'll read you the synopsis. Two young brothers become the leaders of a gang of kids in their neighborhood. Ozu's charming film is a social satire that draws from the antics of childhood as well as the tragedy of maturity. So this movie kind of starts with like the two young boys who are also like already in their like silent strike. The brothers are older, but again, showcasing just like how cute like Japanese kids are in their little like uniforms, and it's like, aren't they just the cutest little dudes? This is like almost like a Peanuts movie, if you can like, if that's like the best way of describing it. Or
what like movie?
A Peanuts, as in as in the Charles Schulz Peanuts. And
make sure to lay that tea down heavy.
Peanuts.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, it's like a very charming little silent film, just with these kids doing stuff, and like it's shot like an Ozu movie. Like everyone's like fully framed, not just being, it's not all shot in close-ups like movies these days. But yeah, it's just a nice, charming little silent film that definitely people should watch if they're watching their Good Morning Blu-ray. Yep.
You know, I think that sounds awesome, and to be very honest, I feel that's what I've always hoped this show would evolve to.
Yeah.
But not the case when we have a co-host who's just a monster.
So RJ,
yes.
Speaking of monsters,
oh no,
who hates Good Morning?
Bad people.
Way too many people. Like,
what?
I was like surprised. Yusuf, who I think I've heard that name before. 1.5 star. Complete bullshit.
What?
Yep.
Okay. All right, lay it on me, dog.
That's it.
That's it?
Complete bullshit.
Come on. No.
Okay. This was like, I think, a 1 star, 1.5 star review. I didn't even copy and paste this goof's name. This was my first Ozu flick, and for some reason I started with this instead of Tokyo Story. After watching all pain-inducing 94 minutes, I can say that this is maybe the tumor of the Criterion Collection.
Oh, shut up.
2 good things.
Why?
2 good things. Acting was stellar, and cinematography was pretty. That's about it. The rest is one massive shit show.
Come on.
Good Morning was one field of confusion. It never knew what it wanted to be. It wandered in the middle of nowhere until it went back where it was supposed to go, and then it was just zigzagging. And with all the nothingness it wanders off to, it shouldn't be shocking for me to say that it's not interesting. Good Morning doesn't even try to make itself engaging in any way. And maybe one way it could have started with that was actually taking time to develop the characters. The real plot starts halfway through the film, and in all that nothingness, it doesn't succeed at giving anyone depth. And then there's the story. What I got from it was about 2 whiny brothers who wanted TV to watch wrestling, baseball, etc. When they're denied, they stop talking until they get one. Despite that puzzling me why exactly that would work of all things, spoilers, it did, they really don't learn anything in the end. So it concludes with the message that children just have to be brats to get what they want. Yippee. I don't know if I misunderstood this completely, but I found it to be a snooze fest with a nasty core. Avoid.
Okay, I got a few problems with this guy, Jarrett.
Yeah.
He says this movie didn't try. I feel like he didn't try.
Yeah.
Okay? This guy fucking didn't try, all right?
Yeah.
He's talking about, the plot didn't kick in until halfway through. What is he talking about, the plot? Things don't have to have a plot. That's a jerk thing to say. It's like some guy who doesn't like a ghost story from David Lowery. It's like, what are you talking about, plot? Just enjoy it. You ghoul.
Look at the visuals.
Look at the visuals. But I think, like he's like, maybe I missed something. It's like, yeah, you did fucking miss something. Because he's so hung up on, like, the plot of the story going somewhere. It's like I think you kind of missed the point, man. It's like it's not like it's a movie that you're trying to take away all this like deep shit from. It's like it's, for lack of a better term, it's like a slice of life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is just how people fucking live.
Yep.
What else do you want?
And sort of this like, and what elevates it from just being a slice of life story, which is kind of like what I associate with like, you would shoot it the way kind of like the Harder They Come shot, like the cinema verite style, which is like very grounded and gritty. Whereas this, it's like, hey, we're going to tell you a slice of life story, like the way that life's lived, and with this like certain set of characters, but we're going to do it beautifully. Everything's going to be like super controlled, super mannered, and it's going to be like a stunning looking movie. So, yeah,
dang right.
And then one last hater. This is 2.5 stars from Ryan Gray McCoy. Ozu has done a lot better before.
Oh,
it does have a certain delight to it, and I'm sure at the time it was culturally appropriate. Maybe it still is, with a whole lot of films these days all being about social media ruining our lives.
Oh, come on.
It's like, what are they? What is this guy? Us talking about social media? And then RJ had one too many fart jokes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So
that's not a thing.
That bit with like the dad getting his pants on, getting ready for the day, and his like bassoony farts, and then his wife coming in to be like, "What did you say? What were you asking?" Oh fuck! It shouldn't, but it's like it's pretty fucking funny because they just keep going to it, and it's just like,
bro.
And like I love that the little kids, they like our little Isamu, our boy, he's got like a little toot fart, and classic. And then there's the poor bastard of a child, which we haven't even talked about this too much, the dumps aspect of this movie. That fucking kid, because he just can't get it out, and he gets the loose tummy, and he just shits his pants. And like there's even a shit pants sound, and but it's like not what you expect, and then you get the sad shuffle. And then his parents saying that they're not going to buy him any more underwear because he keeps shitting his pants. And like the thing that was pointed out in like the one kind of like critic talking about the movie, the very first shot of the movie, it's like an electrical tower and sort of like a shot of like the little neighborhood that we see. But in a little area, you see the clothes hanger of like one of the backyards. The final shot of the movie is underpants hanging on the clothesline, and off in the distance we see one of the like power grid towers, and it's like, wow, we've really come full circle. It's like that Ozu just sliding that in there, and the payoff is underpants. Shitty underpants.
Shitty underpants. There's nothing more full circle than shit in your pants, man. And like that guy's like, oh, that's too much. It's like, if you can't relate to that, this is not one of my guys.
No.
Because if everyone pooped their pants, whether or not you want to admit it,
no.
Man up. Everyone poops.
Maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe it was just last week.
Yeah, the point is, it fucking happens, man.
Yeah, you just gotta,
all of us,
and how you handle it defines you as a person.
Yeah. So this guy played his hand too early. We know now what he's all about.
That guy's probably got the shittiest pants of us all.
Oh fuck! I guarantee he's shitting in his pants right now.
Here's Ryan. You're fucking on the call here on the Criterion Creeps podcast.
Yeah, you shitty pants.
Yeah.
What's that guy's favorite movies? Probably doesn't have butts and dumps in them at all.
Not a one.
Fuck. Unbelievable, Jarrett.
Yep. Well, I think that's it.
Probably. We've been talking about shitty pants for a while.
Yeah. After the break, I don't know. RJ's probably going to shit his pants.
Don't tell them that. They already know that.